Welcome back, guys. Yesterday we had started the discussion about top-down parser. So, in today's session, we will learn the types of top-down parser. As you can see, there are two types of top-down parsers that we will be discussing about. The first one is recursive descent parser, and the second one is non-recursive predictive parser. Okay, we'll learn about both of these parsers, both of these top-down parsers. So the first type of top-down parser is recursive descent parser. So it is a kind of top-down parser, of course. So what is the speciality of recursive descent parser? There is a procedure for every non-terminal that is present in the production. Okay, for every non-terminal in the productions, there will be a function call. Okay, let's see an example here. We have a grammar here, e producing ie dash and e dash producing plus ie dash slash epsilon, and this recursive descent parser supports backtracking. Okay, there is backtracking in this recursive descent parser. So as you can see, there is a function for e first, since this is the start symbol, and what is there in the e function? So we have a global variable called as L, which stands for look ahead. If look ahead is equal to I, it will match with the string I, and it is calling the next function e dash. See, there is I e dash. First it will match with the terminal I, and then it is calling the non-terminal e dash. So let's see what is there inside the function e dash. So in function e dash, the look ahead function, so the look ahead variable is first matching the terminal symbol I plus and then I, then it is again calling itself e dash. Okay, so this is the match function where the look ahead will try to match with the needed terminal value, and then once the input value is matched, right, so if it is following the grammar, the recursive descent parsing will be successful. So this is about recursive descent parsing. Now we will see how recursive descent parsing is done with the backtracking. I'll take that example now. Let's see how backtracking works in recursive descent parser. We have another grammar here, right? We have 4 productions inside the grammar, and our input is AABA. Okay, let's see how recursive descent parser works for this particular input. So we'll start with the start symbol A, since this is top-down parser and it does the leftmost derivation, as we all know. So first it considers A as the start symbol, and it takes the first production value ABC. Okay, see here ABC, and here in this case A is matching with the leftmost value. Okay, so this value and this value is matched, so we will move the pointer to the next terminal value, this A, and we will check if this value and the value in the parse tree matches. It is not matching, so we does the backtracking. We will go back to A and take the next production, that is ABD. Since this ABC is not matching with AABA, this production is not helping to get the input value. We will go with the next production, that is ABD. So again here what you can see is the first value of A in the parse tree is matching with the second value, and then we have the next value here, leftmost value, as B. Okay, for this B we have to check what are the productions, and will those production help us in getting this next terminal value, next input value. So what do we have in B? B slash epsilon. So if we replace this B with B, again the next terminal value is A, and what we are getting here is B. So since these two are not matching, we have to again backtrack to A, backtrack to B, and since B has no other production, B has only B epsilon production now, since this will not help us, we have to again backtrack to A. So when we backtrack to A, what is the third and last option that we have? We have AAD. So we will take that production now, AAD, and again our first input value and the first terminal value are matching. So again we will consider this. So we have to now replace this A with some production now. So we will increment the value and we will see what we can replace A with. So what we are going to consider is again the first production, as you can see, A, B, C. So I will take my A value and replace it with A, B, C here. So in this case, as you can see, this A is matching, the second A as well is matching, and my third value is also matching. Okay, then I am left with C, D, two non-terminals, C, D. Now I have to first replace C, I have to first consider C, because this is the leftmost non-terminal that I have. Okay, so what are the options that I have for C? If you can see here, the two options that I have is C, D and epsilon. Okay, so I cannot replace, so if I replace this C with D, the input is not matched, so I will again backtrack to C. I will instead replace it with epsilon. So this epsilon is as it is, and then we will go to D, and in D we have this A. So the final output that we are going to get is, just wait for a while, so the final output that we are going to get is AAB epsilon A. Let's forget about this epsilon since it doesn't hold any value. So this AABA is matching our input AABA. So the parsing is successful in this case. This is how the backtracking works in recursive descent parser. I hope you all have understood how backtracking works and how the recursive descent parser is implemented through functions. So there is a procedure for each non-terminal in the production. So I have already showed you. So let's revise about recursive descent parser. Recursive descent parser is a top-down parser. It involves recursive calls to process the input, and it uses backtracking, and every non-terminal in the procedure every non-terminal in the grammar is associated with some procedure. So I have showed you how procedure works here, and also how the backtracking works in the recursive descent parser. I hope you all have understood how the recursive descent parser works, and now let's move on to predictive parser. Predictive parser is a kind of recursive descent parser, but it doesn't support backtracking. Okay, let's continue our discussion with the predictive parsers. So now we have LL1 parser. So how does LL1 work? So as you can see, there are two LLs in this name. So the first L indicate that we will scan the input from left to right, and the derivation is of leftmost derivation. The first L denotes that we will scan the input from left to right and we will do the leftmost derivation, and this one indicates the number of look aheads. How many number of variables do we look ahead before the prediction? So that is what is it. So here we are looking ahead for just one variable. So let's see what are the components of this LL1 parser. So for LL1 parser, we have an input buffer, and then we have stack, and then we have LL1 parser, then LL1 parsing table. These are the four components that we make use of in the LL1 parser. So the stack and the input buffer. In the input buffer, we will store the input value. Okay, and this input buffer is always will always have dollar value at the end, and bottom of stack will always have dollar symbol. These dollar symbols are to indicate the end of input. They indicate when do we stop the processing of parsing. So to indicate us to stop the parsing process, we have kept these dollar symbols at the end of the stack and as well as at the end of the input buffer. And then we have LLM parser. So this parser will have all the procedures of how to handle the grammar. How do we construct the parse table for the given grammar? So all that procedure is stored under this LL1 parser. And then we have to construct LL1 parsing table for given grammar. So how do we construct LL1 parsing table? Is by getting two values. Those are first and follow of the productions. So we will find out the first and follow of all the productions in the grammar, and those we will use it to construct the parsing table. There are some other things that we also include in the parsing table, which we will be discussing in detail in the coming lectures. So making use of first and follow, we construct the parsing table which the parser will use. So parsing table is basically the data structure that we are using to store some important values or some important things that are necessary to do the parsing. And we have input buffer and we have stack, which are ending with dollar symbol to indicate us to stop the parsing process. Okay, then let's see how do we find out the first and follow. Okay, first we will see how do we find the first of the productions. So let's assume we have this grammar here. So S is the start symbol. I have all these productions, S, A, B, C, D. I have 4 non-terminals. For every non-terminal I have some more productions here. Okay, let's see what is first. Okay, how do you define first? If I start start deriving these productions, all the possible productions start with S. Okay, let's assume I will try to identify all the input strings that will start with S. What will be the first value in the input? Okay, what will be the first value in the possibility? That is what we are going to see. That is the finding of first of S. Okay, so when I try to derive this S, so what is there in S? A, B, C, D, right? So the first of S is A. Okay, the first of S is A because when we derive any input, it will always start with the first value as A. Hence the first of S is A. Okay, so let's see when we try to derive all the possible strings starting with B, starting with A, it will always start with B. So the first of A is always B, and first of B is C. Okay, and first of C is D, and first of D is E. I hope you have understood how to find out the value of first of any production. If you haven't understood, we are going to solve many examples, so don't worry. So we'll in the coming videos we will first solve few examples to find the first and follow of the productions, and then we will also learn how to construct parsing table. Now that you have understood how to find out first of any non-terminal, let's see how to find the follow of any non-terminal. So follow of the start symbol will always be dollar symbol. Since if you remember, I had told you that input buffer will always end with dollar symbol. Any input that you give here will always end with dollar. So the follow of start symbol is always a dollar symbol. Okay, so let's assume so from this S, let's assume that S derives A, B, CD. So in this case, the follow of S is dollar, since this is the start symbol. Let's see what is the follow of B now. Okay, let's see what is the follow of B. Now if you look at the production, I have B producing C and C producing D. If you replace this C with its production here, AB is followed with D. When I replace C with D, B is followed by the non-terminal D. So what is followed by B here? B is followed by D. So the follow of B is always D. Okay, same way we have tried to. So basically what is happening here? Follow of B is actually C, but I cannot replace the non-terminal here. I cannot place non-terminal here. So I have to take the terminal of the next variable that I have beside B. So follow of B is first of C. Okay, so follow of B is first of C. So the follow of B is D. So finding out the first and follow by deriving everything will be a little difficult task. So I will show you easy method of how to find out first and follow in the coming videos.